The plan for today was to hike into Penner Lake, which is out near Grouse Ridge. Similar area to Glacier Lake, which I've posted a couple videos of. I checked the website just this morning, and it said that Penner Lake was open. And when I get here to the trailhead, there's a big sign that says the area is closed due to high fire danger. So our overnight trip just became a day hike. So we're still gonna hike into Penner. I'm gonna empty out most of the stuff from my pack that I won't need for camping. The idea for this trip was to kind of see how my knee was doing. So I picked a short hike, just 3 miles in, 3 miles out in the morning. Get a night under the stars. Now we've got 6 miles of day hiking. Another reason I wanted to take this trip this weekend was it seemed like a really good opportunity to answer some of the questions I get pretty often from beginner backpackers or people who haven't even started backpacking yet but are interested in trying. So I picked a couple of questions that I thought I could answer here in the field better than I could at home in like a talking head style video. So I'm going to cover how I choose a campsite, how I choose a water source to filter from, and how to poop in the woods. I always prefer to filter from a moving water source. The action of the water flowing over the rocks and the dirt acts as kind of a pre-filter and eliminates a lot of the solids that your filter might have to contend with and helps prevent clogging. But you don't always get that opportunity, and sometimes you will have to filter from standing water sources such as lakes and ponds, the occasional puddle. When you are filtering from a standing water source, best practice is to try to find a spot that's fairly deep so that as you drag your dirty bag across the surface of the water, you're not stirring up a bunch of silt and other solid materials that could potentially clog your filter. The filter I carry is the VersaFlow by Hydroblue. It's a hollow core filter very similar to a lot of other filters on the market. They all work under basically the same principle. You can't really go wrong with whichever one you choose. Occasionally, you will be faced with the decision to filter from some questionable water sources. And in that situation, you just have to weigh the risks. Is the risk of getting sick greater or less than the risk of severe dehydration? Typically, I'll carry a backup, such as like an iodine tablet or something like that. And if I have to, I will double treat my water. Well, we made it to Penner Lake. It only took us maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's not a very long hike and it's not a very difficult hike. I did end up bringing all of my gear for two reasons. Number one, the point of this trip was to assess the condition of my knee, and I think I'll get a better assessment of that carrying a full load than I would stripping down to like day pack weight. And the other reason was just out of being hopeful. All of the signage we've seen so far has listed 4 very specific lakes as being closed, and Penner is not on that list. And according to the website that I looked at this morning, Penner is open. So the hope was that we'd get here and there'd be some updated signage. Maybe it would definitively say closed or definitively say open. And there is no signage, so I just kind of have to decide if I'm going to take the word of the website, which I feel fairly confident in, or if we're just going to do this as a day hike. But either way, we are here, and it's lunchtime. When choosing a campsite for the night, there are a lot of things to take into consideration. The first thing I typically look for is a nice flat area on a durable surface. And what I mean by durable surface is you don't want to try to pitch your tent on loose, sharp shale or deep, deep sand. You want to try to avoid setting up on living vegetation because you could damage that vegetation and create some condensation issues in your shelter. I always look for existing tent pads, places that look like people have already camped there. And that way we're minimizing the amount of human impact in these wild spaces. You want to stay 200 feet away from the water and 100 feet away from an existing trail. That allows privacy for you, privacy for the other campers, and still allows wildlife access to those water sources. You, of course, want to adhere to any fire restrictions that may be in the area. I know that can be difficult sometimes, but it's the least we can do. And you want to avoid setting your shelter up near dead or dying trees or trees with big dying branches that could fall on you in the middle of the night. They call those widow makers. One of the first things I do when I've chosen a spot to camp for the night is I will police the area for little bits of trash. You'll find food wrappers and elastic hair ties, toilet paper, always toilet paper. And I always want to leave an area better than I found it. Well, we have learned how to choose a campsite. We've talked about how to filter water and how to choose a water source. I guess it's time to talk about poop. There's a lot of different ways that you can facilitate that process in the backcountry. I'm going to talk about the one I use most often. So, here we go. Step one is finding a spot. You want to be away from the trail. You want to be very far away from water sources so you don't contaminate them. And you also want to be aware, are you in like a wash? Are you in a place where water might be someday? And avoid those places too. And obviously you want to find a place with some privacy. Once you've found your spot, you gotta dig yourself a cat hole. Your cat hole should be, around 8 inches deep, and the width and overall size of it is kind of personal and kind of up to you. You should probably know by now what the event looks like on your end, and dig a hole that can accommodate. I really like this little spade. It is the Deuce 2. It's a 6-ounce trowel. The thing I like the most about it is it's very lightweight. It's very compact. It's very easy to slide into your backpack. And it is just about 8 inches long. So when you're digging your cat hole, when your Deuce 2 can fit all the way in your hole lengthwise, you've gone down deep enough. So I also carry, toilet paper, obviously. I prefer the biodegradable wet wipes, but you don't have to carry those. And hand sanitizer, and I highly recommend you carry hand sanitizer. Once you've dug your hole and done your business, you kind of have to figure out what to do with that toilet paper. Best practice is carrying it out, and that's what I've been doing for the last year or so. Prior to that, I was burying it, which is acceptable in a lot of places, but honestly, best practice is just to carry it out. Toilet paper can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to biodegrade. So if you are leaving it just on the surface or just pinning it down with a rock, something like that, think about how many hikers are going to walk past that toilet paper in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Probably a lot. So at the very least, bury it, but best practice is carrying it out. Some areas require you to carry your waste out. I'm going to link a video below from Backcountry Exposure where he goes into amazing detail on how to use a wag bag, and honestly did a better job than I ever could. So check his video out. In terms of dog waste, the process is pretty much the same, although it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get the chance to dig your hole first. So you might want to use a stick or rock or something to knock their waste into the hole you've dug. I hope these tips were helpful to you. I pulled these straight from questions that I've gotten on Instagram and Facebook and in person from friends who are interested in hiking, but either haven't pulled the trigger yet or have only gone out once or twice. If you have any other questions you'd like to see me cover, drop them in the comments. I'm always happy to make these kind of videos. I'm always happy to make it easier for people to enjoy their time in the backcountry. Oh, I almost forgot. My knee feels wonderful. So at least now I know I can walk 3 to 4 miles on it, no problem. So that's very exciting.